Hello, viewers. A common misconception about many cryptids, especially Sasquatch, is that they are animals like any other creature found in the wilderness. While they may occasionally take on a physical form, it is important to remember that they are first and foremost spiritual beings. This is why they can be so hard for most people to see. We're only looking for them in our physical realm and not looking to the spirit realm. If you want to know a tried and tested method to possibly see and interact with these creatures with more consistency, make sure you listen to the advice in this whole video. Secrets will be revealed on how some of these paths can be traveled to reach them and interact with them. I'll also let you know some of my thoughts at the end. And if you like what you hear, you might want to hear the original version of this story featured in my book series called Northwest Mythology. They are available to purchase on my website, linked in the description. And while you're here watching this video, please make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. We're trying to monetize. We're getting really close. I call this tale Spirit Quest Turtle. The first concept to know about the Spirit Quest is that a guide has to be found to reveal sacred knowledge. This guide can take the form of many things. Sometimes it can be an animal spirit or an ancestor, but often it can take the form of a cryptid. This includes Sasquatch and many others, including small dwarf-like spirits called Tamanos. To encounter these spirits when you're a child or transitioning to adulthood, which is when you take these spirit quests, is considered good luck and can grant the person who experienced them special powers. These powers are things like getting extra luck or being intuitive, maybe being a better tracker, but encountering them when you are older is believed to bring bad luck and can get you cast out of your community. The location to encounter these spirit guides has to be a place of power. I know of several of these places of power, but the one in this video, and the first one I encountered, was a lake called Lake Angeles, close to my hometown of Port Angeles. To understand this guide that inhabits this area, we have to examine how the lake got its name. Both Port Angeles and Lake Angeles received their names due to a translation error by Spanish explorers who arrived in the area in the 1600s. And the natives told the Spanish explorers about spirits that lived in the area. Unfortunately, the Spanish didn't quite understand what the natives were trying to tell them, and they translated it to angels, which is angels in Spanish. And Port Angeles had a small native village there in the harbor at that time, well known for having multiple burial sites around the town. And the local natives believed that the spirits of their ancestors were connected to that area where they lived and died. And when they were trying to explain this to the Spanish decided these relative spirits were guardian angels, and so they named the town after them, Port of the Angels, when in fact the natives were trying to explain the concept of these guardian ancestor spirits they'd commune with on their spirit quest. The explorers then named the lake, located a few miles outside town, after that same angel concept. And the natives tried to explain to them, like, no, that's powerful spirits that live there. Young tribal members between the approximate ages of 15 to 20 would go on spirit quests to the woods to seek their true names. Then sometimes some advice or sacred knowledge. And true names are said to be the names that spoke to the person's soul. Sometimes it would be an animal or another attribute that represented the person better than the name their parents had given them. The young people would wander these woods on these quests, sometimes for several weeks. These visions would reveal what they were seeking. The minimum amount of time seems to be 3 days, possibly representing the 3 trimesters of a baby's development in its mother's womb. After a successful spirit quest, the person was said to be reborn with their new name. Despite common misconceptions, psychedelics weren't always used. Most often, a lack of food, sleep, and isolation in the woods eventually led to a heightened state, elevating the person's spirit to be able to interact and see the spirit realm. And through this trance-like state of mind, they would travel to the spirit realm or view it. And the guardians would take on the shape of massive ancestors or guardian spirits or even cryptids. They give advice, heal wounds, and reveal their true names of the questers. Many of the young people from that Port Angeles village would find their way to Lake Angeles, and the lake is about 20 to 30 miles from where Port Angeles is located up into the Olympic Forest. And it's rough, dense terrain. And there's no well-marked trails back then, and often the young questers would get lost for several days before reaching the lake. Once they reached the lake, if they weren't already in this vision state, they would camp on the banks of the lake for sometimes several days until they were hungry and thirsty enough and they had reached that heightened spiritual state. And they'd sing and chant while they're sitting there waiting and restrict their food and water in that extreme isolation. And once in a while, they would use psychedelic substances. If those were used, it was usually Amanita muscaria, which grows in the mountains there. The lake was chosen as a final destination because several questers ended with a successful vision. In the middle of a lake is a large island that resembles the shell of a giant turtle. In the vision quest state, the turtle is said to arise from the water and talk to people on their quest. This massive turtle will answer any question and will also give the seekers their true spirit names. And the legend also says that to have a vision, sometimes you might have to swim out to the island. It's about a half-mile swim in frigid glacier melt water. And the tradition of swimming out to the lake still continues to this day with local high schoolers, and it acts as a less extreme rite of passage. It's sort of in that memory of those old spirit quests. You swim out to that island to prove yourself. If you have a vision while on this turtle shell, it said you can request to actually travel with the turtle back to the spirit realm. And he has the power to transport somebody from our physical realm to the spirit realm. And if you're not in a vision quest, this island's nothing more than a pile of rocks that just vaguely resembles this turtle-like shell. Unless the spirit, that powerful turtle spirit, comes and imbues that rocks with its spirit energy, and it animates the island. The secret to doing this might be lost to time, but it surely involves lots of chanting and singing. So if you travel with the turtle to the spirit realm, the turtle will act as a guide and take you around to talk to ancestors and other powerful spirits, including cryptids. The dangerous part about taking this quest this way is it was believed that if you were to fall off the turtle or get separated, you'd be trapped in the spirit realm forever and never being able to come back to the physical realm. But the advantage was that you could talk to your ancestors directly instead of using a spirit guide as a medium. Spirit guides were said to speak encrypted riddles, so you would have a hard time interpreting what they were trying to say, while the ancestor spirit would give you a more direct answer. Regardless, the swim is still a good challenge for those of you who try it for yourselves. But as far as I know, no one has been going on those traditional spirit quests to the lake in a long time. Nevertheless, it's still fun to imagine that giant island that looks like a turtle arising from the water to deliver sacred knowledge to those people on spirit quests from long ago. In conclusion, I do think that the best way to have an interaction with a cryptid is to seek them out as a spirit guide. The Cowlitz tribe would travel up the Lewis River to the heart of Sasquatch territory to specifically seek out Sasquatch to act as their guide on spirit quest. And different guides are said to grant different powers to the seeker. I know the tribes by Lake Chelan believe that if a spirit quester interacted with the small dwarf-like spirits, they were said to be blessed with good luck for the rest of their lives. But I do want to say a word of caution for people that are hearing this that think they might want to seek out these beings by going on a spirit quest. When encountering these creatures later in life, it is commonly accepted to have the opposite effect. No one will believe you, and you will have a hard time interacting socially with people that have not had these experiences with these creatures. In a lot of ways, you become an unlucky outcast if you can't let that experience go and forget about it. Shamans in many cultures would have to live outside the village as hermits because they'd no longer be able to interact with their communities. Traveling to the spirit realm too often can make a person a stranger in our own realm. Many people that travel these paths often will lose touch with our reality. They can even get to the point where they can no longer hold a normal conversation with others, with loved ones. Often they'll revert to mumbling to themselves as if talking to beings that we can't see. The final sad conclusion can often be that they die of exposure. They've lost touch with reality so much to the extent that they can no longer notice when their bodies are thirsty, hungry, or cold. They just almost live in that spirit realm all the time. Shamans had to go through extensive initiations, and a person that's not ready could face serious psychological repercussions. If you choose this path, be warned that these are things that you could face. If you enjoyed what you heard, make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. I'm trying to upload new videos every week, and support in the form of comments and subscribing really helps to keep me motivated. And if you want to support my writing, make sure you pick up a copy of one of my books. You can also visit my website, northwestmythology.com, linked in the description. I love weird, strange, funny, spirit realm traveling stories, and look forward to sharing many more. And I also often get asked, why don't I try to go on some spirit quest? I find the potential and concept very interesting, but I have seen firsthand the disconnect that can be left over after you get back from traveling to the spirit realm. I have a family with young children, and even the brief brushes I've had with this other realm have left me often thinking about retreating to a hermitage. I can only imagine if I went all in, and the seed that had been planted with my current experiences would grow at a much faster rate. Before I know it, I would have to retreat to the solitude of the mountains to live and talk only with cryptids and spirits and ancestors, until possibly I died of exposure myself. Let me know what you think. Is a spirit quest the best way to see and interact with a cryptid? Have you ever been on a spirit quest? What did you learn? Should I try to go on a spirit quest, or am I too old? Because like I said, it is supposedly bad luck for older people to try to go on them. And once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.